Okay, so welcome to the podcast. So I have Dr. Lauren Fitz on today, and we're actually, we think, also streaming live on Facebook for the very first time. So I have never done this before. She's done this one other time, she said, with a podcast. So we're trying something new today. I met Dr. Fitz a couple weeks ago, I guess maybe about 2 weeks ago, at WorldLink. They had a business conference where about 50 doctors came in from all over the United States and Canada on the topic of how do I start a hormone practice? I'm leaving traditional medicine and trying to learn some of the business basics on starting their own practice. So I had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Fitz there, and we got along fabulously. And Dr. Fitz was an anesthesiologist. She was working for a big hospital system and left that hospital system and now has a med spa and hormone clinic. So welcome to the show, Dr. Fitz.
Thank you, Amy. It's a pleasure being here. I'm excited about our conversation today, even though we have no idea what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so I don't have a single question prepared for this podcast. Her and I got along so well. I was like, I don't know, we're just going to have a normal conversation here to get things going. Since we spent 2 days together and a couple dinners, I figured we had plenty to talk about on the topic of healthcare. And I'm jealous because she's on a treadmill right now. For those of you watching live on the Facebook, she has a big social media following, and she's always posting about the steps. So what kind of treadmill are you on right now?
So I actually got this from Play It Again Sports. It's no longer made. People always ask me about the brand, but you can get walking pads for literally $200 on Amazon nowadays. So it's just, you have to set your desk up with a stand-up desk to be able to, walk through your day.
So what is your step goal for the day?
So with my weight loss patients, I give them non-negotiables, and one of them is to count their steps. And depending on where they start their journey will depend on where I give them the starting step goal. But ultimately, I let them know that there's no secret that I'm going to build them up to working at least to 15,000 steps a day, because it's been postulated that our ancestors walked between about 15,000 to 20,000 steps a day. And so compared to our ancestors, we are very sedentary. And so the 15,000 step count is something that in my own weight loss journey, when I used Semaglutide about a year and a half ago, I was very intentional about hitting 15,000 steps or more every day. And a walking pad really makes it a lot easier to be able to do that, especially when you live in the Midwest in the winter,
Yes. I'm going to have to break down and get one. My desk is not set up for that right now, but I'm definitely going to have to. Like I'm intentional about, like, whenever I take a call or I'm, if I'm just typing something, I raise my computer or I take the call and I walk. But it's still hard for me just to get to 10,000 steps. Like if I can hit 15,000 steps in a day, like that's a big deal. Like I've done great.
Yeah.
Because just getting to 10,000 sometimes, like I can leave the day and I'm like, oh my gosh, I still have to go walk a couple miles. Like I have got to get it in. But it makes such a big difference, not only in the weight loss journey and your longevity path, but for me personally, like my sciatic, just from being in the car and sitting so much, like I have to be moving. Otherwise, it'll flare up on me.
So I always tell my patients to create a habit where you are walking a minimum of 10 minutes after all 3 of your meals, because typically what happens is 10 minutes turns into 15, sometimes it turns into 20, and it makes it a lot easier to hit those higher goals instead of just trying to get it all in one walking setting,
Yes. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. We do have the girls or the team here at Victory take a 10-minute walking break, either after lunch or whenever they can get it in. You know how it is being patient facing. Sometimes it's hard, because we're just packed all day long and we don't close down for lunch or anything like that. So we kind of have a working lunch where people are taking turns to eat and stuff like that. So it's hard, but we try to be intentional, like go outside, get sunlight, get a 10-minute walk. Because if you can get your 10-minute walk, now you've definitely got a half mile in. So
definitely.
I don't know exactly how many steps a half mile is. Do you know on average?
Well, it depends it depends on the pace. So like right now I'm walking 1.5 miles an hour. I'm walking very slowly. I always tell patients, walk at the pace that you feel comfortable walking and time yourself and figure out, like, if I'm starting them off at 10,000 steps a day, then figure out how many minutes it takes at your pace that you like to walk 3,000 steps. And then if it takes you 20 minutes to walk 3,000 steps, guess what? You should do 3 20-minute walks after your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? So some people, I never walk faster than about 2 miles an hour during my day.
Okay. So you have a big YouTube following, several 100,000 people, you told us over the weekend. So I went to and watched some of your old YouTube dance videos because were you a professional dancer? Like, did you cheer?
Briefly for a hot second, but I never achieved my ultimate goal of being a backup dancer for Janet Jackson, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, so you're a great dancer, but I did notice from seeing you last weekend to then, you've lost a lot of weight, and your fat was either covering a significant amount of muscle mass, or you have recently put on a lot of muscle mass because you are pretty ripped now. So tell me about that journey. You mentioned you took semaglutide for a few months, but tell us about it.
I had a lot of muscle covered by a little bit too much adipose. So I'm 44 years old right now, and I have been lifting weights since I was 16 years old, on and off, pretty much consistently since my late teen years. But I definitely did not know what insulin resistance was or metabolic syndrome. And even despite my best efforts, what I thought was eating healthy obviously was not. And so my midsection got a little bit thicker, and then definitely just my whole body. So right now, per DEXA scan, I'm about 17% body fat. But I'm probably sure that those videos that you saw me, I was probably closer to about 30% body fat. So semaglutide was a decision for me after using it in a lot of my other patients and seeing how successful they were. They were patients that were doing all of the things, which that was me. I was lifting, I was eating what I thought was healthy, and I couldn't get that scale to budge. And when I decided to use semaglutide, that was just a momentum mover for me. And I mean, the whole time that I was on it, I was doing everything that I was making my patients do, like the 15,000 steps a day, lifting 3 to 4 days a week, eating the high protein. So I actually, per DEXA scan, lost 0 muscle. So that muscle that was hidden by the extra layer of fat melted away slowly over those 8 months that I was on semaglutide, and then continued to after I weaned myself off of it.
So you made the decision to not stay on a maintenance dose. You lost, how much weight did you lose in those 8 months?
I lost 25 pounds. So right now I'm right around about 130 to 135, and I was about 150 to 160 pounds. And no one would have called me fat, but I was definitely fluffy.
Yeah. Well, like I said, when I went back and looked at the videos, I was like, whoa, compared to now, I mean, you look like you could, compete in a fitness competition. So, I mean, you have a lot of muscle mass. You're welcome. You look like you're in great shape. So when you made the decision to get off semaglutide completely and not stay on a low maintenance dose, do you take anything to help maintain?
So that's a good question. So when I got to my goal weight, I knew that I had to try and wean myself off of it just to see if I could or not, because patients will tell me things, but I can't, unless I'm in their shoes, I don't know if they're fully being honest. So I knew that I had to really try, because if I can't 100% say that I could wean off of it, then how can I expect to guide patients through that process if not only I can't do it, but they can't do it, right? So I attempted, but I also gave myself the get out of jail free card of, if I started to gain the weight back as I weaned myself down on the dose and then started to increase the days in between the baby doses, if I started to gain the weight back, I gave myself a get out of jail free of, I'm okay with getting back on this, a low maintenance dose if that's what I need. And I always tell my patients that once they get to that weaning place, everyone's nervous when they hear the word wean, right? So I always give them that, hey, we're going to try our best. You've done everything that you're supposed to. You haven't lost any muscle mass. You've created all of these new habits that are set in place. You're not going to stop doing them. So now we're going to do our best effort. We're going to do it slow and steady. And if we see that you start to gain weight slowly back, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. We'll figure out the lowest maintenance dose possible to keep you in maintaining, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. And I think we talked about this over the weekend, like for our patients that are weaning off, we a lot of times introduce Akkermansia, the probiotic that is needed to get your body to produce GLP-1 naturally. We've had great results with it. We've had great results with just the product alone. We've had great results with the product in conjunction with semaglutide, and we've had great success with using it while weaning a patient off semaglutide. So it's been a big success for us. The Akkermansia.
So are you starting them initially when they get on the semaglutide, or are you starting them on it as you start to wean them off of it?
It just depends on the situation. Some people take both at the same time. Some people maybe want a natural GLP-1 or a natural way to lose weight, and they don't want to take the semaglutide, but want to lose weight or need to improve their A1C. So we might start there without semaglutide at all. Some of it they're taking at the same time, and then some of it are slowly weaning off of it and taking it. And then there's others that just come off semaglutide and then move to the Akkermansia. And there's different doses of the Akkermansia. Like their glucose control product actually has like 4 or 5 times more potent Akkermansia or dosing in it than just the Akkermansia alone. So it depends on the situation, what we're using it. But it's just great also for overall gut health. I mean, I take it, I notice like for bloating and digestion and stuff like that, it's great. And it's amazing how many people, men and women, don't have regular stools like that. They're like, are your stools regular? Yeah. Oh, how often do you go to the bathroom? Oh, every 3 days. You're like, yeah, that's not normal. Like,
it's not normal.
You need to be like, okay, we've got to talk about this. Like, there's there's a lot of things here: fiber and diet and movement and some of these pre and probiotics. Like, we need to be talking about this. I don't know, how often do you see that in your practice?
Oh, so much. So initially in my practice, I was only doing functional medicine before I brought weight loss and BHRT into the mix. And digestion is oftentimes the core problem of a lot of these illnesses that are chronic illnesses that can be reversed, but not traditionally seen that way in Western medicine. So I always, when we get to the part of digestion, I'm always like, all right, this is my favorite part. Let's talk about poop. I mean, like, do you go every day? What does it look like? And some people are like, I don't look at my poop. I'm like, how do you not look at your poop? Like, how do you not?
Come on.
I mean,
that's like saying you don't pee in the shower. Come on. You look at your poop.
We are calling BS.
You have to.
My gosh. It's a vital sign. It's kind of like in the world of OBGYN, they call your menstrual cycle your 5th vital sign, because if your menstrual cycle is not regular, if you're bleeding too much or bleeding, all of the different things, it's a vital sign that says, hey, your sex hormones are not right, So if you're not pooping brown logs daily, there's something not right about your digestive tract. Let's just be real.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I love that you asked those detailed questions about it, because we have like a lot of conversations around that in the clinic. What kind of GI testing are you doing? Are you doing like food sensitivities, like some of those Cyrix testing, or tell me about some of that?
I've gotten away from a lot of those because and this is only in my own practice, I've found that I always tell the patient, look, I can spend a whole lot of your money to do all of these fancy tests, and you let me know if you want me to order it, but I don't really think it's necessary. I think that if we just do the most, the least is better initially, right? So we'll start changing their food. We'll put them on a food plan, of an elimination food plan, to figure out which foods are inflammatory to them specifically or not. We'll start them on some baseline supplements that I believe everyone should pretty much be taking, like magnesium. We depleted the topsoil of magnesium. There's over 600 different enzymatic processes that need magnesium in the body. Everyone should be taking magnesium. Most people should take it at night because most people have terrible sleep, right? So we'll talk about that. And more times than not, those simple basic approaches that are not super expensive end up solving their problems, and they don't need the whole GI map or, food testing. I've actually never done food sensitivity testing because more times than not, just the traditional approaches solve the problems,
Elimination diet. Yep. So your top, what are your top 3 or 4 essential vitamins that you recommend to most patients?
So vitamin D3 and K2 is something that, especially, you and I are both in the Midwest. They should pretty much put it in the water, but I don't want anyone drinking tap water, so forget about putting in the tap water. But vitamin D, I always tell patients, remind them that it works as a hormone in the body, it supports your sex hormones, it supports your immune system, it supports mental health. Like, there is no reason why you should want to be average or even below normal on vitamin D. I want you to be optimized. And really, to get those optimal levels of vitamin D, you really do need to supplement. I mean, even I did the whole snowbirding thing. I escaped the winters of Chicago and went to Florida for a few months. And I specifically stopped taking my vitamin D because I was outside walking to the beach every single day. And my vitamin D actually dropped below. I was already optimized because I was supplementing with vitamin D. I just experimented. Yeah. And sure enough, it's hard to get that enough vitamin D to support your body optimally. So vitamin D3, and it's always typically with K2, unless there's a few people that shouldn't be taking K2 because of anticoagulants and stuff, not stuff like that. But for the most part, vitamin D3 is always with K2. And I tell patients to take that first thing in the morning with your food that has fat, because those are both fat soluble vitamins, right? So D3, K2, magnesium at night. I always start them on a spore-based probiotic. I always start them on a high quality omega. And then I start them on a multivitamin that's specifically good to support your mitochondria. So those are kind of my 5 baseline supplements that pretty much everyone could benefit from. What about you guys?
Yeah. I would say pretty close to that. You know, I'm obviously not in the, clinical setting, treating patients or seeing it, but vitamin D for sure, magnesium for sure. I would say nitric oxide is a big one for us, which you might be doing more of that after your call with
Dr. Twyman. Definitely.
Yeah, so that's a big one for cardiovascular health and blood flow, but it's great for men and women. I'm trying to think of another big one that we do. I would say those are our big 3s. I would say Akkermansia is up there and a probiotic are up there. So yeah, aligns pretty close with you. And then our cardiovascular patients, definitely the omega-3 is in the mix there. What levels are you typically hoping for with the vitamin D? Are you trying to get, in that over 50?
So it's funny because before I did all of my BHRT training, I always told patients that the minimum that I'm okay with is 40, but optimal is closer to about 70 or 80. But now everything I've learned, I'm actually getting closer to 100. I want them to push to about 100 for their vitamin D levels. So on some labs, that would be labeled, marked bold and high, too high. I'm not worried about a vitamin D level of 100.
Yeah, exactly. So what did you think of the WorldLink Conference? What were some of your takeaways?
So my takeaways, so for the listener, this was supposed to be for all business-minded providers, whether they be an MD, a DO, NP, a PA, or a non-medical person that owns a business that is hormone-based. And it was so nice to be surrounded by other people that were like-minded, that were just sharing their best practices. So I know your listeners already appreciate that you are a very well-established business that's been successful, so successful that have 4 locations and you're about to do the number 5, right? I'm a little bit behind you, but I'll be there in the future. But your business expertise was shared with other people. My expertise in social media and how to use social media to teach your potential patient population on all things, so they know what to look for when they're looking for a hormone doctor, or they're looking for a reputable weight loss clinic that's actually doing it the right way and making it where they're not losing so much muscle on the journey, right? So it was nice because I feel like there were so many strengths and weaknesses that everyone was just sharing their strengths and gaining from that. I mean, I took home so many action items that literally, I mean, I don't know if you saw, but I've already hired more people so that we can, yep, I know. So it was a lot of great action items that I was able to take home. But ultimately, I mean, I feel like the relationships, having other like-minded people that are fed up with the system and really just want to create a place that is a safe place where people can come and get optimized on all things. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it definitely really highlights the longevity movement that we're seeing. And if you're paying attention and following on social media or seeing more Netflix documentaries, there really is a movement from, traditional healthcare and providers wanting to, a large chunk of providers wanting to move in what you would call longevity care or anti-aging or preventative medicine. There's like a lot of different terminology thrown out there. And WorldLink, they do hormone training, so they can have a couple hundred people in their, BHRT part 1, and they have 4 parts. But this business conference was the first time they've ever done one like that. And like I said, there was 50 there, and it was interesting for me. Like, I think I maybe had more of like an aha moment, like sitting there listening and watching. The doctors' egos were kind of all set aside, which that's not a dig, but most doctors do tend to have,
trust me,
huge egos, an ego or a presence about them, because the world just can't, it can't function without them. Like a clinic can't function without them. The hospital setting can't function without it. So I think it's just kind of a product of being in that environment. But like, they approached the conference they were just so humble and just so honest about it. Like, I need help. Like, I want to do this. I'm scared. I don't have all the tools. Where did you start? How much money do I need? What malpractice insurance? How many people? What do you pay those people? How'd you get the marketing materials? What pharmacy do you use? Who's your attorney? Like, I'm talking like just all the questions, and
all the things that you don't think about as a provider.
Yes. Yes. And I feel for them because, I as you know, I did my first consulting arrangement with Embody Her Health here in town to help her get started. And, she had a lot of the same concerns, so I felt like I empathized with these people because they want to go start something new. They really want to help people. They really want to get into preventive medicine. It's just, it can be challenging, and they're pulled between their day-to-day practice that they're still needing to have income and provide for themselves, but also trying to make time to take a risk and start a business. So I loved helping. I kept saying there, like, I want to give more than I take. So it was important to me to help feel like I was helping them with some tangible takeaways to go put in their day to day.
Well, for your listeners, that they probably know this about you, because if they listen to you a lot, they can tell where your heart comes from. But I mean, before I met you in person, I was already astonished by you had nothing to gain by helping me. And I literally, on one of the business Zoom meetings that WorldLink provides every Friday, I had said something about, I'd love information on the scent, how do I create my own scent? And then the little packaging for the supplements, because I have my own supplement line too. And you, I didn't even have to ask you. You actually gave that to me in my DMs. I was like, man, I mean, that's huge. So it's so nice, like truly authentically people that you just want to help. Like you said, yeah. If I would have had someone like you and someone like WorldLink to have so many resources when I first started, I would have avoided so many problems,
Yes. Yes. I know. I look back 8 years ago, whenever, I guess the business has been open 8 years, but if you look back to when you actually start the business concept, I'm probably more on year number 9. So this is going back like podcasting wasn't that big, and social media wasn't as big, and some of these organizations weren't as large and easy to find. So like, I freaking struggled. I mean, it's bad when my resource and my point of contact is from watching The Bachelor, and I see this guy, I can't think of his name, it says ED specialist, and I look him up, and he owns men's health clinics, and like, he's the guy I'm trying to reach out to for help. Like, literally, I can't even tell you. Okay, his name is Ethan, I think. I can't tell you how many times I emailed this guy that I found on social media, like, will you help me? Will you consult for me? And he actually did respond once or twice, and then never helped. And I was like, man, I was freaking desperate. That if that was my my point of contact for expertise. So I applaud WorldLink for putting something like this together to try to create a community and a team to help other doctors. So why did you want to leave? You were only an anesthesiologist for like 6 years in the hospital, right?
Correct.
Which is not that long for how much education it takes to get to that point. So what made you decide to leave?
Man, and everyone thought I was nuts when I left. So you are correct. If I had an epiphany moment where, because I've always been a fitness instructor too, just as a side hustle, I guess, or just, it's really just a passion doing the dance fitness thing, right? So I've always, no matter what stage of life I've been in, I've been that person that has gone to the gym, eaten healthy, and just really tried to influence other people to, you know, take ownership of their own health. And my ex-husband was in the military. So I've lived a bunch of different places, and I lived overseas for 3 years. And when I got back from being overseas, I was in Oklahoma, and I was literally, every single patient that was on my OR table, I had that thought of, man, if I could have only gotten to them 10, 15 years ago, I could have helped prevent them from needing this surgery because of XYZ. And that's when I realized, like, I'm not really fully in my purpose, and I'm grateful for anesthesiologists because we need them if we ever have surgery. But I knew that my purpose was a lot different than just putting people to sleep every day in and day out. And I really doing the functional medicine, the healthy medical weight loss, the natural bioidentical hormone replacement, it just fits into my desire to really give patients all of the tools so that they can own their health and create an amazing life. Like I always tell my patients, I want to give you the gift that my great grandmother had, a life that she could mow her own lawn at 98 years old. Like, why is that not normal? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So rare, but I believe that it's possible, but you have to take ownership of your own health. And it doesn't just happen. No one's coming to save you. But if you have people like Victory Men's Health and Laura Marmed that give you all of the tools and resources so that you can start taking action, I promise you, it's an abundant life. It's so much better when you're healthy.
Yeah. And we're putting a lot of these resources out for free, like this kind of stuff. You know, I always tell people, I'll take the time to do it right now, like rate and follow and share the podcast, because, you know, we have an anesthesiologist / functional medicine hormone expert here taking the time out of her day, not seeing patients, which is revenue, you know, to educate for free. So it's like, give more than you take, share it, like it, help the podcast grow. It's free information, and it could change somebody's life. It could be what that person needs to get motivated, you know, to do something, or maybe they have a health condition that they're, you know, in the traditional system, and they like a gut health issue and they can't figure out what it is, and they hear something on a podcast and it triggers them to think differently and head down a different route. Like you hear that all the time. What do your colleagues that you used to work with think or say to you now that they've seen you a couple years out of leaving the system? Are they messaging like, I'm jealous, can help me?
Yes.
How did you do this? Or maybe I
Totally.
should come along.
They went from talking crap about me behind my back on Reddit to, hey, can you tell me how you did that? You know?
Oh my gosh, on Reddit.
I know.
Wow.
I had a couple of people tell me, like, I had a couple people tell me, you know, that you're being discussed on Reddit. And I'm like, I literally have been on Reddit once in my life, and it was just to go see. And I just laughed. I was like, all right, they have nothing better to do with their lives. I feel sorry for them. But the reality is that a lot of people like you and me get into this space because you've been failed by a system that you trusted. Like, I know that your husband took supplements that he trusted were good for him, right? You go to, you know, whatever supplement store and you just get the stuff, and the little 18-year-old salesperson tells you, oh, this is good for it. And then before you know it, he's freaking having liver failure in the hospital. Like, and how many people trust the system, and it just, once it takes a bite, it just keeps bringing you in. And that's why it's called a sick care system. It is not a healthcare system. It is a sick care system. So I think a lot of people like you and me finally have that red pill moment where you get out of the matrix and you're like, oh, this is not the system that I signed up to be in, and I want to make a difference. And how am I going to do this against this beast, you know? Yeah.
So you do a lot of skincare also at your med spa. And I'm kind of curious because we see mainly men, and hence the name.
Yeah.
And to get them to put a lotion on their face or like an acne
big
product.
deal.
How are you talking to men to get them to take care of their skin?
Well, first of all, you have to make it stupid simple. Well, you have to make it stupid simple. Yeah. It's no more than 2 products. Like if you're going to ask them to do more than 2 products, you're basically asking them to just not do it at all. And you have to set it up where it's just stupid simple. So like if they're going to do daily testosterone cream, it's like put it right next to the testosterone cream. You put your cream down south, you put your cream up south or on your face and call it a day. Like make it stupid simple for them, because they're not like us females and have the, the 7 different jars of the really expensive serums and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you can make it stupid simple for them, they will do it.
What are you recommending for your male clientele? Like just a basic moisturizer, or what, like any vitamin C? Like what is it that you're recommending?
Yeah. So typically a serum that has vitamin C in it and then a moisturizer. And, if you were to ask my estheticians, they would say SPF, but I'm not the greatest at putting SPF on every day anyway. So
yeah.
So like a vitamin C serum and a moisturizer. Yeah.
Do you get a decent number of guys to come in and get facials or dermaplaning type stuff or Botox?
Not the dermaplaning, but definitely the facials. We've got our regulars. Our estheticians are really good about creating that value of the benefit of coming back every single month. So, I mean, I would say it's probably 15 to 20% of our spa side, just the estheticians, but our men are pretty regular. So if you can get them to a good esthetician that teaches them how to make it stupid simple and show them the benefit of coming in and getting regular facials every 4 to 8 weeks, then yes. And I guess the importance of the rebooking.
Dermaplaning. I guess guys don't do the dermaplaning because they already have facial hair and they're already shaving a lot. So it's kind of like same difference.
Totally.
Okay.
But every single female should do the dermaplaning. I'm a huge fan of the dermaplaning for females for sure.
What are your top face products for females?
So it depends on the person that is on the table. If there's someone that wants to go like all organic, we've got 2 of the most high-end organic lines that are one is from France and one is from Hungary. And when you say organic in the United States, it can be 5% or less of the ingredients, versus when it's overseas, it has to be like 99% of all of the ingredients are 99% organic. So there's some crazy statistic. That's why organic skincare typically should come from Europe. So we've got the organic line, but then we have some people that really just need the medical grade. And, that's when the esthetician will teach them like, all right, what are our goals here? And if you're wanting to like change like, hyperpigmentation or anti-aging, typically you need a medical grade line of skincare. So we have Zeo. So Zeo is pretty well-known med spa line that's medical grade. You can't carry it unless you have a medical provider in the business.
What do you personally use? Because you have good skin.
I use a hodgepodge of them all, but I contribute my good skin to not just my skincare. I use red light therapy daily, almost daily. We have a red light bed here, so I try and get in the red light bed 3 to 4 times a week. I use collagen on a daily basis. I eat really healthy. I don't eat fake artificial food. So the food and hydration are definitely a contributing factor to my skin. And then I will do a procedure called Morpheus, which is microneedling with radiofrequency energy. And that induces your body's natural production of collagen. So I'm told on a regular basis, I'm 44 years old, but I don't look it. And it's not just one secret. It's all of the things that have, make me look a little bit younger than 44. So I've been told.
You cut out there for a second. Are you putting sunscreen on your face every day? Are you bad about that?
I'm bad about that. I'll be honest. I mean, one of our medical grade skincare lines does have a nice tinted moisturizer that looks good and doesn't look really super fake. So when I'm good at it, I put it on maybe 50% of the time. Let's be real.
I have to put it on all the time because of hyperpigmentation. Every single day I'm putting it on and my foundation has it on. But Topics, which is a company, that you can private label their skincare line, which is pharmaceutical grade, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, they just came out with a sunscreen oil, and this stuff is an 11 out of 10. Like, I'm telling you, the best sunscreen that I've ever used. If I could start a whole company around this sunscreen, I would. But I know it's at a higher price point. Like, the cost is probably already to the point where guys wouldn't buy it. So we're probably not going to private label it. But the rep has given me, some samples, and I'm using it on myself. I'm telling you, You've got to get this stuff. You've got to private
Oh,
label.
I was about to say,
Is
send me
like,
the rep's message, or contact.
yeah, it goes
on
like an oil, and it's like so thin and sheer, and it's zinc, like 25% zinc. I mean, it's hands down the best I've ever used. So I love it.
Nice.
And actually it makes the foundation go on even better, that I think. So that's what I've been using. But like I said, I'm bummed that we can't private label it because I know the men will not buy it.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
So I just have, I would like to have a stock of it here, but instead I have to reach out to the rep and purchase it or beg for samples. But we mainly all that we have here skincare wise for the men is any acne products, and then we have just like a super basic cream. But even that, we've had to make it, simple for them, like package it all together, like here's your 2 or 3 steps or whatever, because otherwise, to your point, they won't even forget about it. They won't do it at all. So
for sure,
come on, guys,
for sure.
You can do this. So
do you ever listen to the Mind Pump guys?
Yes.
They partnered with a skincare line that is specifically aimed for males. So it's obviously working because they've been talking about it and they actually swear by it. So we do know it's possible. I'm just going to put that out there.
Those guys are wild on that. I think that's the podcast that I listen to, that they can get wild at times.
They can get wild at times. Yeah, they can. But it's not, it's G-rated. It's something that you could listen. So maybe we're thinking about 2 different podcasts.
Okay. So what other podcasts do you listen to on a regular basis?
So, I go in waves. Sometimes I listen to perimenopause, menopause podcasts. Sometimes I do the whole, the fitness, health and fitness. Sometimes I'll do just like motivational stuff and business stuff. So it depends on what mood I'm in. So like I binged listened to yours once I saw you on WorldLink, and so probably my favorite ones to listen to are business, because that's the area that I need the most education with. And so that's probably where I'm most listening to. So I'll listen to yours. I'll listen to Alex Hormozi, listen to Layla Hormozi. It just depends on the mood that I'm in, but I very rarely listen to music anymore.
Yeah, that's how I am. Sometimes I force myself to listen to the music so I can maybe check out, because sometimes I can think a little bit more creatively if I'm actually listening to music and check out. But I feel like I'm wasting my time in the car if I'm not, or working out if I don't at least listen to one podcast. So I feel like it's a necessity. But let's talk about Alex and Layla Hormozi, because you went to Las Vegas to their conference. You happened to sit next to Dr. Twyman, who's also there, who, if you're a patient of ours, you know that he helps here with our cardiovascular testing. So what did you think of Alex and Layla?
So Alex and Layla are incredibly smart business people that really do believe the same core that the only way we're going to fix our broken country is by giving people the ability to build successful businesses. And they figured it out. They have the equation. And now they're just trying to teach other business owners, no matter where you're at in the business process. So it's a workshop of 50, and they do this every 2 months. And I went thinking I was literally going to be the lowest man on the totem pole, because there was someone that had gross revenue of 300 million last year. He was in real estate, but it wasn't everyone. So literally all levels of business owners were there, and everyone was just drinking in all of their information, because all of the information that the Hormozis gave is something that you can utilize at every stage of your business. And I honestly wish that I would have had stuff like this before I opened my business. I wish I would have had stuff like this and access to people like you and other successful WorldLink medical business owners to avoid a lot of the mistakes that cost me some money in the first few years,
Yeah. Yeah. So you would, for those of you that don't know, Alex and Layla, they have a company called acquisition.com. I think they both do a very, very good job of framing the context of the topic or the conversation. Like they frame them very well, and then can talk about it and explain it. And they talk fast, which I like and appreciate because they're like super to the point. Alex also has a few books that I've read. $100 Million Lead, I think, is the name of the one. That he sold his company Gym Launch, I think, for like 30 million. And then he's got a few other books, but I now gravitate a little bit more towards Layla, I think, because she's leading a lot of the company and a lot of leadership stuff and culture and time management and some of those things. So I've gravitated a little bit more towards her, but their kind of mantra is like, we're going to document our success and failures and talk to them so we can hopefully teach people along the way. And they're hosting these workshops every couple of months for people that are wanting to launch businesses or maybe sell their business, and learning more about EBITDA and stuff like that to help along the journey. So if you're into business and like that kind of stuff, I think they're a good listen. And
the whole LTV to CAC ratio was something that I'd never even heard about, and I've owned a business now since 2020. And LTV means lifetime value of a patient or client, and then CAC is cost to acquire a client, right? And these were numbers that are very important for a business owner to know, yet I bet you most business owners don't know those numbers. And, that was just one of the many caveats that I learned at that workshop of, okay, I have a lot of work to do in fine-tuning my business if one day I do want to sell it, which I think that should be the goal of everyone's business. I'm not going to want to be doing this when I'm 90 years old. I want to just mow my lawn on my many acres out in the country without worrying about anything.
I love that. Well, I guess I'll see you in a couple of months. We're both going to the WorldLink Summit in September.
Yes, we are.
I was thinking, somebody needs to bring like a podcast live thing out there because there's so many doctors and so many topics, and do just little 10-minute talks. Maybe we should discuss that.
Why don't we do that? There's no reason we can't.
Yeah. To get a little mic and just do a few minutes here and there, because there's just going to be so many people that you will have access to, and they have, so much knowledge to give the listener. So I think we should ask WorldLink if we could maybe do that, tap some of those people while they're in the waiting rooms or hotel lobby or whatever it is. So I'll be seeing you in September, and then I'm going to be on your podcast next week.
Yes.
And what else? It's been so great having you on.
I just want you to know that I 100% am so lucky and blessed that I crossed your path. And I have no doubt that you and I, we're changing lives in our own world, but I think that us meeting is going to change even more lives. So I'm excited to call you a friend and get to know you even more along this journey, because I believe that we have the same vision and the same core values that we want to do and accomplish with our business. And I look forward to future conversations and future endeavors that we're going to get to do together.
Yeah, me too. So, when you just meet somebody, you instantly know you're going to like them. That was kind of, Lauren and I were like, okay.
100%.
Yeah. We're like, okay, she's
totally.
my vibe. You just pick up the energy and right away. So,
yes.
So this
and
was
my
our first
family,
Facebook Live.
I know it went well. It went well. No, I was just going to say, my family is in Texas, and we have a farm, but if the zombie apocalypse happens, you're way closer to me. So I'm just going to be a part of your family when the zombie apocalypse happens.
Could drive down to our farm. That's fine. You might make it on one tank of gas too from Chicago. It's right in that 4 or 5 hour range.
You're right.
I think you can make it. So
totally.
Okay. Well, follow her on social media. Is it Dr. Lauren Fitz, or what's your Instagram handle?
Yes. Yeah. So it's Dr. Okay. So Dr. Lauren Fitz. And Instagram is probably where I'm the most active. My YouTube channel, I'm actually repurposing it, and I'm going to call it the Dr. Fitz Show. So I'm going to be interviewing a whole bunch of people to create a whole bunch of content that is valuable to the listener. So my YouTube channel currently has 322,000 subscribers, but I haven't used it in 4 years, and now I'm repurposing it to the Dr. Fitz Show. So be looking out for some good content there.
You should do that, girl. You can get paid with that many followers. So time to monetize
Exactly.
that.
That's what
She
I'm
didn't
trying to
monetize
do.
it before because she
Nope.
was playing music to the dancing, so it's all copyright, and you can't monetize that on YouTube. But if she starts to put out other content and gets views, she can definitely monetize that. So you
That's
go,
the
girl.
plan. That's the plan.
Okay. Well, you have a great day, and I hope you got at least 5,000 steps in while talking
Oh,
to me.
easily. Easily. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.